of a boat, how the boat, the substance of the boat is. You build a boat and you use all that energy to build the boat. The principle is simply defining what the boat is. You cannot say the principle itself generates the boat. This is our ordinary understanding of it. This is Zhu Xi's understanding, but this is not Mencius. Because Mencius' understanding is your human nature, which is the expression of human heart and mind, is a creative center. Your human nature makes you a good person. And that human nature is dynamic, is transformative. Now, Weiming and others criticized Zhu Xi as his failure to do that. And Yi said, let's re-examine the idea of the principle, even in Zhu Xi. And he concludes that the principle is a dynamic principle. It moves, it transforms. On the surface, it's just a simple notion, but it becomes very, very consequential for understanding the subtlety of the debate. Now let's put it in a broader context. See whether you can experience it, or see whether it links to your ordinary experience. There are two very different ways of self-cultivation. Buddhists especially talk about it, Confucians. One is self-cultivation based upon other force, other effort. The best example, one of the best examples, is the Christian idea of grace. No matter how you work, how hard you work, your salvation is based upon something other, something God's grace. Otherwise, no matter how hard you try, you'll not be saved. So this we call the other force, not your force. The only way you can cultivate yourself in order to become saved is devotion. You have faith. You have devotion. You have reverence. The reverence is commitment to a transcendent power. You know you are helpless. Human beings are helpless. There's something else which is outside. There's also a Buddhist tradition. There are many, many Hindu positions. What you need to do, a Buddhist tradition, you recite Buddhist name 1,000 times, at least sometimes 10,000 times on a daily basis. And you ask Buddha to help you, and eventually you can be helped. It's not your effort. It's Buddha's incredible compassion outside of you. That's true with God outside of you. This is one position. The other position is embraced by virtually all the followers of Mencius. You have to do it yourself. They call it self-effort. That's why self-cultivation makes a difference. You really have to cultivate yourself. You rely upon your own self. Now, within this notion about self-effort, there are two ways of understanding this. One is the Xunjian way, or we all know. It's not from the transcending idea of God or Buddha, but it's from society. The reason we can become good is because the society helped us. We have good friends, we have good teachers, we have good rituals, we have the constraint of law and all these things. So we learn to be good by internalize these forces. Normally we all accept this. But the Mencian idea is the center for your self-cultivation is internal. You become aware of what you ought to do. That internal force generates your direction. Therefore, Mencius made a remark, learning is none other than to search for your lost heart. If your heart is not lost, in other words, you're able to concentrate yourself, you'll always be able to do that. So what's the difference between allowing social forces to shape you and allowing your inner psyche, your internal resources to cultivate yourself? Now, from Kantian, there's a Kantian point of view, there's a difference between autonomous morality and heteronomous morality. Autonomous morality is something that is automatically generated from you. Heteronomous is the morality has to be introduced from the outside, whether the outside turn out to be society or the transcendent God. So I think that's commonly experienced, can be commonly experienced. And also you have to choose. And you cannot, of course you can do both, but normally there's a choice. Let's try to put it in a very simple way. If you are a manager you manage your group. One is the Xunjian way, one is the Mansion way. The Xunjian way, you're afraid that every employee of yours is going to cheat you. It's going to do something for their own self-interest. They're not going to help you to produce. In other words, each person is for himself or herself. So you design your system in terms of rules and regulations. You put up these rules and regulations. If you violate it, you may even lose your job, but at least your salary will be reduced. Things of that nature. That's one. Another one is empowering. So every human being, our society, our company is, I call it a Gemeinschaft, it's German, but it's a fiduciary community. It's a community of the like-minded. Right now in economics, the difference between shareholder and stakeholder, right? For example, shareholder means those people who have shares of your company. So as a manager, you have to get the profit, so the share will be very widely, not only widely, but share will be, the margin will be very, very big. And your role as a manager will be totally secure. If your profit margin falls, then you're in trouble. So you are responsible for your shareholders. What is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is anyone who is connected with the company. A janitor. Some people who are not shareholders. But whether your company will be well run or not depends upon all kinds of other people, right? So you're not only responsible for your shareholders, you're responsible for the stakeholders. The stakeholders, every one of us has a stake in the well-being of the company. You know the situation now, right? If the university is in trouble, the shareholders, of course, will have a problem, maybe members of the corporation, but everybody suffers. So the idea of the shareholder and the idea of the stakeholder are not in conflict, but are significantly different. If you take a Xunjian approach, you want to control the mechanism, you want to control the company, and you're suspicious of the various, if you allow the people to do their own thing, the company will not flourish. From the management point of view, you want to encourage the people to do their own thing. Each one has its own limitations.